Yes, sir. I'd like to call this meeting for the Board of Zoning Adjustments to order. It's 2 o'clock, and I'd like to go over the rules so that we all will be together as we move forward. An application on the agenda will be called. An applicant gives his or her name, if you would please, your name and your address for the record. Then you will make your presentation. The board members ask questions if any members of the public may make their comments. Only 4 people can speak for an application and 4 against an application. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to questions by the board. After that 4-minute period expires, a loud beep will indicate 1 minute left to speak, and at that point, please summarize your comments. After all opposition speakers have finished, the applicant will be given time to respond. If you intend to speak, we ask that you will come to the podium and give your name and address for our minutes again. Please direct all questions to the board only and not to the applicant or the audience. Please direct any and all questions of the applicant or the staff directly to the board. Please speak directly into the microphone. After hearing this application or your application, the board will go into deliberations. In deliberations, the board members will discuss the application with input from the staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. The chair would then call for a motion and a vote. The Board of Zoning Adjustments is a 7-member board. Please note that approval of a variance requires a minimum of 5 affirmative votes. As of this moment, we only have 6 members present. All decisions of the board are final. If there's anyone aggrieved by the decisions of the board, you may appeal to the circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or licenses can be issued until the 15-day appeal period has expired and no appeal has been filed. I would like to call the roll. Before I do that, I'd like to say to us that we have legal counsel present in the person of Mr. Douglas Anderson, and I will proceed to call our roll now. Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Millings, Mr. Golden, Mr. Morris, Mr. Carroll is not here. Our chairman, Mr. William Guest, is out today, and I'm Sanford Davis, the vice chair, and we will proceed at this point. Application number 6408, case number BOA 001719-2021, Howard Summer, 22 Herbert Court. Please come, sir. Is it on? You might have to hit a button there. Sir. Oh, this one? Oh, okay. I'm in control. Right, okay. Okay, all right. It's not a usual seat for me. Right, go ahead, sir.
I was just asking for an extension for this permit.
Give us your name and address.
Sumner Howard, 22 Hurlburt Street in Mobile, zip code 07. I had applied for a variance, setback variance, and received it.
Yes, sir.
But because of all the things going on, COVID, vacation, all that stuff, I was not able to start anything. Actually, until this week, I just picked up my permit from the city. so I could start my remodel.
Yes, sir. So you're asking for a 6-month extension?
Yeah, it said that I was supposed to start on the 27th of, I want to say January, but my plans weren't done until the 27th of March was when I was supposed to have started. My plans weren't done till the end of January, and by the time I got them to engineering, and then had to re-engineer some things back to the architect, and then back to engineering, and there's a couple of things I didn't like about the framing, so we had to change that, and that went back to the architect, and then back to engineering. I didn't get the plans done until April.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So here I am asking for an extension to start, and I just picked up my permit this morning.
Yes, sir. Any questions of the board for Mr. Sumner? Okay, is there a motion on his request?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Move properly seconded that this extension will be granted for 6 months, sir. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next application is 6413/6362 Riley Terrell, 1704 McGill Avenue. Are you here? This also comes with a 6-month extension as requested by the applicant, and it is recommended by the staff that we would approve this. We may need to have some discussion on this because the staff also is advising us that the applicant should be aware that future extensions are unlikely. Any discussion from the board or any action that we would want to take on this?
Yeah, I would like to know, is there a limit on the extensions?
No, sir. However, it is set up in state law that the variance has to be acted on within 6 months. That's so that the approval doesn't languish and then time passes and then you really haven't given proper notice to the neighborhood as to what's going in there. So variances can only be granted extensions in 6-month increments. If within a year the construction has not commenced, the applicant can come back and ask for another extension, but we don't like to see those continually being granted.
No legal limit, just policy.
Any other concerns from the board? A chair would entertain a motion as it's time. Move properly seconded. You've heard it as stated. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers should have the same. Hearing none, so ordered. And we can't do that, counsel, in their absence, right? Good, good. Case number 6452/6358, Natasha Hills, 7160 Old Military Road. Are you here? Please come. I have your mic on. I realize I'm in control of it up here, right?
Good afternoon. My name is Natasha Hill. I'm located at 7160 Old Military Road, Theodore, Alabama.
Yes, ma'am. Your application comes before us with recommendation from the staff for denial. Are you aware of that?
No, because I was approved for zoning, but because of COVID and, because the paperwork and COVID, my paperwork expired. So that's why they told me I had to reapply. So that's why I'm here today.
Okay, would you like to take time to look at the denial and the reasons for it before you speak?
Yes, I seen it, but I have been owner and operator of Tiny Town Village Early Head Start for a total of 15 years. 7 of those years, I was considered what you call back then a group home, where I was taking care of 10 kids. And in those 15 years, no one never complained about traffic,
Yes, ma'am.
kids.
Excuse me, I read all of that.
Yes, sir.
I read all of that.
Yes.
But my question to you at this point, are you aware, coming to the mic at this point, that we have a recommendation from the staff to deny this application?
Oh, no, sir.
That's what I'm asking
Okay.
you. And I'm asking you, would you like to take time to read their rationale before we go into your case, since you were not aware, or do you want us to proceed with what we have in front of us?
I can take a time and look.
Is that permissible, counsel? Yes, sir. Please, if you will, may we move forward and then we'll come back to her? Okay. All right, thank you. Case number 6454/6382, Bethel Engineering, 4103 Ridgeline. Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Vince Lacoste, 4585 Hawthorne Place. I'm with Bethel Engineering, and I'm also the property owner of this particular house.
Yes,
I'm sorry, can I go ahead, or do you have?
Oh, yes, sir. You're aware that this is also recommended to be held over, right?
I am, yes,
Yes, sir.
I'm aware. So to give a little history, one, this house is currently under construction. We're nearing completion. A year ago tomorrow, we were in here. So a year ago, we were in here and received a variance for the 8-foot fence along Old Shell Road, which will connect to 2 other 8-foot fences that are currently there, as well as for the 10-foot rear setback for a future, garage, storage building, something. We don't know exactly what that is yet. We did get that variance approved, and I failed to act within 6 months to pull a permit. And so we're back now with those same 2 requests with an added 3rd request, because we have decided to put in a pool and have asked for the pool equipment to be located adjacent to an 8-foot fence along the property line. From my understanding of reading the staff report, I don't think they have listed any opposition to any of the requests, but they wanted to know the size and location and height of that future garage. I don't know what that is because it's not really imminent. We haven't planned that. So I would ask one of 2 things. Either that it be approved as it was a year ago without that garage size, or that part of the 3 parts be removed and approve the other 2, because I really can't wait a month plus 15 days with us nearing construction. I need to be able to build the wall.
Yes, sir. If you would, just give me a moment, counsel. We will be in order to hear this application beyond the measures that we've been given.
Is it the side yard setback to allow the pool equipment that can wait?
No, it is the reduced setback to 10 feet for a future garage that can wait.
It's not shown, the staff report shows the rear street and rear yard setback and a side yard setback.
But the building that he's requesting that the rear yard setback apply to is not shown.
That's correct. We don't have plans to build it now. That's why I can set that piece aside if that's what causes issues, and I can come back whenever we plan to build that. But the other 2 items, I need to be able to proceed.
So the rear yard is what he doesn't need?
He has 3 requests.
Yeah, I understand, but we got rear street, rear yard, and side yard. He said 2 of the 3 he needs now, 1 can wait. Which one of those can wait?
Which one can wait, sir?
All of those variance requests are applicable to what he has illustrated that he wants to build now, which is rear street, rear yard. That applies to the fence that would be along the property line, which would be in line with the existing fences on either side, which we have plans for that in his application and shown above. The side yard is for the pool equipment, which is shown on the plans, which we have addressed. What is not here is the proposed accessory building that may be a garage or may be for storage that he would like to build in the future that would be set back 10 feet from Old Shell Road, but he's not sure where on the lot, what size, etc. So I think removing the future accessory structure from the request and addressing it when you're ready to move forward is within the board's purview because you have everything else in front of you to review.
Yeah, and I would accept that, but I would still ask for two or three reasons. One, last year when it was approved, we did not have a drawing for the garage location. And 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month before that, the property next door got a 10-foot setback approved without a house location. And when I spoke with Mr. Rogers and the staff, he said that pulling a permit on the wall itself could lock in that 10-foot setback. And so in my discussions with staff at that time, I thought we had it covered. Again, I don't want to come out of here without being able to, do what I need to do now, but I would ask for some consideration to keep me from having to come back in a few years.
Okay, in light of the discussion, I'd like to hear from my colleagues if we all feel we should move forward in this request. How you all feel about any comments at this point as far as entertaining what the applicant wants? Wait a minute. Okay.
We could approve all three with the condition that he has to come back with a revised site plan for the garage when it's to be built. Best we can do.
I understand.
I'm sorry. That's the best we can do.
No, I understand. It's okay.
Did I state that right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Golden.
Come back here or just come back to staff?
Any other questions from the board at this point? Okay. Anyone in favor of this application would like to speak at this time? Anyone in opposition? Okay. This application is in our hands, board members. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir,
I
Mr.
move for approval of the application with the exception of that prior to construction of the accessory building that he can come back with a set of revised plans for that part of the application.
Second.
Move properly seconded and an attempt to do a third. Have you heard it as stated or ready for the question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is by the same. Hearing none, so granted, sir. Thank you very much. Our next application here is 6455 Puddles and Purses Property LLC. Are you here? Please come. Give us your name and address.
My name is Mark Gasek at 720 Hillcrest Road.
All right, sir. Your application is before us, and it comes with approval from the board recommending that a height variance request to allow a 12-foot height security fence in a B3 community business district, and it comes with some conditions. Are you aware of everything in the content?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any opposition, any discussion you would like to have as it relates?
I do not think so unless you guys have any questions.
Okay. Is anyone in favor of the application would like to speak? Or anyone against this application would like to speak? Hearing none, what's the state of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
did you say you had a question?
I said if you have any questions.
Oh, do you? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You're good.
It's in our hands, board members. Any discussion or motion? I'll entertain.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval. Subject to staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, you heard the motion is stated. We're ready for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers by the same, hearing none. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we have to go back now to Miss Natasha Hill, I believe it is. If you would, please come. 6452. And, ma'am, sir. He got away. You want to come with her? Come on. Yeah, you stand with her. Okay. For the record again, Ms. Hill, please give us your name and address.
My name is Natasha Hill. I'm located at 7160 Old Military Road, Theodore, Alabama. This is my husband, Stanley Hill.
Stanley Hill, okay. All right, Ms. Hill, you've read
Yes.
everything. And we'd like to hear from you if you'd like to discuss why we should not deny this application.
Okay, let me speak. Okay, first, because.
Okay, if you're going to speak, Mr.
I'ma
Hill,
speak
we
for-
need for you to give your name and
My
your
name's
address.
Stanley Hill. I'm the husband of Natasha Hill.
Your address.
All right. Reason why I like to speak.
Your address.
7160 Old Military Road, Theodore, Alabama.
Okay, this is for the record. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, the reason why I like to speak is because I was really following up this application, doing all the leg work and all the running. So what happened with the application was we had the COVID. Well, no in-person meeting with anyone, so we had to bring our paperwork down and put it in a box and leave it, and then leave and come back. So everything was approved the first time around. So when it was approved, they gave us things that had to be done. So when we were trying to get with the permitting upstairs, all them guys couldn't tell us nothing. They didn't have no idea why we was even trying to do this, because what they said was we already had 10 kids. We already had a business license for 10 kids, and we should have been grandfathered. And all of the people upstairs said that we should have been grandfathered into this, so they didn't know why we had to come. We should have never had to come back and get rezoned. We should have never been shut down from 10 to 6 when the city took over the county. We was in the county originally, and we already had license, and we was already operating business with 10 kids. It was already with a group home. So we had all of the we did everything that they asked us to do. All of the safety hazards, all of the things that they required, we done. And it's a daycare sitting right next door to us. And it's saying that we can be zoned because of whatever reason it is. But like I said, we already had the business open. And we tried to go up when we were going through the process. We couldn't never get with anyone. Everybody was taking vacations and wasn't in the office, and so it was hard to communicate. And we had the architect who they told us we had to get paperwork, drawn, site plans, stuff like that, which we didn't have to do. And once we did all that, I finally got to meet with the guy upstairs, and he told me I really never should have had to do all that. And according to the paperwork, it said on that I was already didn't have to get no plumbing inspections, didn't have to get none of them inspections that was required, and I shouldn't have had no problems with what. But anyway, we had that had a application that we had to send back in to an extension that we had to send in, but we never got that paperwork. And when we went to talk to the guy, that's when we found out that we should have filled out a paper and sent it to him to get an extension, which we would have never had to come back to zoning, because we already had the zoning. But we didn't get that application because everything was just, communication was messed up. So we just, and then when after that's all over, they told us to come back again. But I was just wondering why we had to go through, according to the guys in the permitting department up there, we shouldn't even be in this. And then there's a lot of daycares that's going from 6 to 10 with no problems.
Ms. Margaret, is that anything that you all can speak to on that?
The application states that right now you are currently a family care home taking care of only 5.
Yes, sir. I mean, yes, ma'am. You made a mistake.
Okay. That's the reason for having to come back up into code, is because you're increasing over those 5 children. That requires full compliance with building code construction, fire codes, etc. Once you drop down below that, when you go back up, you have to come into compliance with commercial standards.
Yes, ma'am, because we never changed anything because everything we needed, my daycare home is still set up just for 10. I have like a total of 3 play areas.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of my home, I have an infant area and a toddler area. So my space is still the same. So we never dropped down. We just haven't dropped.
But your license
Yes.
did.
And one other thing is we never, you know, like they said, we shouldn't have never had to go from 6 to 10, from 10 to 6. We shouldn't, the city made us do something that we should have never had to go through. And so what we're doing is asking for the variance because the house is, everything is still set up for 10. And we already been licensed for 10. We was already in the county with 10. And like the people upstairs said that we should have been grandfathered in when the city took over. It was a mistake on the city part, but having us drop down to 6.
I will say this, I don't think anybody with the city's made a mistake, and if somebody in the permitting office said something, that doesn't apply to zoning issues. But this takes us back to what we discussed last meeting in these daycares going from 5 to 10. Right now, the staff is in the middle of doing a lot of research and preparing a memo to provide to all of y'all. We're not through with it yet, but should be by the end of this week. But the bottom line is this application, when it was before us last time, should not have been approved. Like Margaret said last time, I believe, these are zoning issues, not hardship variance issues. Yes, the board has approved several in the last few years. Should they have been actually before y'all? No, because they are strictly a zoning issue. There are no hardships in these cases. It's just a business decision. And what they're doing is it's a great service to those communities. And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but it's a zoning question, not a hardship question. And I'm sorry what they've gone through and being approved, but now legally, is my opinion, we cannot approve these, any of them. And I think the staff is going to be taking the position in the very near future that these applications will not be accepted for the Board of Adjustment because there are no hardships. It's just a matter of doing business, and I understand that, but that's when it comes to zoning question and not a variance question.
Go right ahead.
Okay. It is a hardship because weekly, 2 and 3 times a day, I receive calls from parents that have foster care kids, and parents from, I'm like located 7 or 8 minutes from Burrow Elementary. I receive calls from the principal saying, Ms. Hill, do you have any openings? Because we have parents that have 3 and 4 siblings. Some has to be located in Theodore, some has to be located in the Tillman's Corner area, but they siblings, and they want them in the same daycare area.
And I understand that, ma'am, but that's not the hardship the law looks at. The hardship is with the property, and can this property not be used? Is it impossible for the property to be used for its intended purpose, thus thus you have a hardship. Hardship has to lie with the property, not with the service you're providing or what's going on in the community. And like I said, you're doing a great service, but the law states that the hardship has to be with the property.
Is the property, you saying with the property being used for the intended purpose? When it's already being used for the intended purpose and you got a big old daycare right next door that's being used for the same purpose, and then you got all of these daycare that you just now in the last couple of months approved to go from 6 to 10. So if you already got the rule going and you already got the law going, so why change for one daycare when you already done approved all the other? And like I say, if you look at the land and we had it, everything now is for, you could have up to 50 kids in our area right there. We got room for anything you need right there. And we on the main street, going into Theodore, that's the main highway. It's not like a street that's off of it's the main street. Old Military is a busy thoroughfare. I mean, cars go through there regularly. You don't have one or two cars. It's the entrance into the whole community. And you got the daycare sitting there beside us, Little Red Schoolhouse, big old daycare. And then you got Burrows Elementary right around the corner from it. And you got barbershops right down the street from it. I mean, it's businesses right there in that area. So I was trying to figure out, he's saying that, it's not, we couldn't use the land for the intended purpose when we already been approved to use it for that purpose.
The approval has not come under the zoning laws of the city, and everything this gentleman has explained or described supports a rezoning argument, because under zoning, you have to meet one of 4 criteria, and one of them is a change in the surrounding area and how the properties are being used in the surrounding area. And with the businesses he's referencing that are in the immediate area, then that might support a rezoning, but it does not support this property not being able to be used as an R1 property.
Right now, we are a member of the Auburn University Early Head Start. We're not a regular daycare. We are a star daycare, and we're with the state. Yes. And right now, we, like the state says there's no problem with the daycare.
We need more space because at the age of 3, these kids age out.
Yes,
and then they're back in homes with either siblings, 18 and 19, or with grandparents are getting older. They no longer can, they call me, they no longer can cannot take care of their grandkids, so they need to be placed in daycare. I have a parent right now saying, if her 3-year-old cannot find a place to go, and she don't want to separate her kids, she would just have to quit her job. For 15 years. 15 years. I've been doing this. No complaints about traffic, nothing.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
And that supports that meets another criteria for rezoning need in the community for that service.
It's a big need.
What they want to do is great, it's just this is the wrong vehicle. Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Mr. Morris, you had something you want to say? Go right ahead.
I can only address this from a zoning perspective. When property is annexed into the city, it is annexed in as R1 single-family residential. In this area, we did do a zoning study, and a lot of the properties, when the Theodore Tillman's Corner area was annexed, and then when West Mobile towards the airport was annexed, a zoning study was done along the major thoroughfares to put some zoning into place to reduce nonconformities. However, it is not a lot-by-lot study, and so as time goes on, rezoning applications could come before the Planning Commission and the City Council. Non-conforming, however, in the zoning ordinance, once you lower your business use, you lower the level of non-conforming associated with the property. So when Ms. Hill went to 5 children in the home, that is a compliant R1 use. Home daycares up to 5 children are allowed by right on any R1 property in the city of Mobile. So when she went to go back above 6 children, she was no longer compliant. Hence, she came to the board. So that is how non-conforming works. Non-conforming, the goal of it is for these incompatible uses over time to phase out, or if they aren't, quote, incompatible, you will have proper zoning come into play. They've never applied for rezoning. They've only applied for a variance from this board. The site itself, Mr. Hill brought up, there's an adjoining property that's used commercially. I would suggest potentially joining with them and filing a joint rezoning application. Daycares are allowed in a B1 district with planning approval. B1 also allows residential, single-family residential use. You know, illustrating these types of uses, you know, you can have a B1 use, it's a buffer business, it's low intensity, and hopes to be compatible with the residential area as well, but then would also allow Ms. Hill a daycare over the 6 children. Now, I will point out, in terms of building code, I pulled up their application from last year. It was a 2021 building application. There's still compliance required from all the building trades and the fire department. Those were listed deficiencies on their building permit application.
For what they're currently doing?
Yes.
When we, like she said that when we went there, and I went down and talked to the guy up there in permit. I had a meeting with him. And what he told me was everybody had signed off on the application. There was no, only thing, the plumbing department we didn't have to do no plumbing, didn't have to do no electrical, didn't have to do, everything is in place. Only thing that we had to do to our house was put a handicap ramp and extend the doors, move the doors, make the doors bigger for wheelchair access. That's the only thing. They said, make the doors bigger, make the doors into the bathroom bigger. That's the only thing that we had to do. And then the house was existing, and the guy told me that the city came in and made us go down. It wasn't our choice. We should have been grandfathered in when the city took over. They shouldn't have came in and made us change our business around, because we already had a business and we was already operating in the county as a business.
Okay, Mr. Hill, we want to walk through this carefully.
I know.
With understanding and clarity. And what you're saying is that someone in the city that had, as I'm understanding it from council, had no jurisdiction in zoning, and they gave you some advice from permitting, right?
I'm not truly clear I can look at the permit and I can, going back to what I explained earlier with the 5 children, that is also part of fire code. So when she was at 5 children, that's allowed in a residential area. That's allowed without fire code compliance. But once you go over 5, you kick in fire code and all of the other codes as well as zoning.
What they say. Can I ask y'all, and one question? I talked to the fire marshal, and he said that long as we got fire-proof doors, he said if we're not cooking, if we're not doing any cooking in the building, we don't have to do anything because we're not actually preparing food for the daycare. If we just bring the kids lunch to them or whatever, we do not have to do anything different to the house because the house is already existing. Because they told me to go get an architect. I paid him $2,000. And he didn't even know what the heck I was trying to do. And he's trying to talk to the city, but he couldn't get no understanding from the city as to what they were requiring. And then when I went down and talked to the guy, he said that they really don't have a set of rules about all these different daycares that's being, some daycares they're allowing to go back up to 10, but they don't have a set rule that's for each one of them in order to say, well, you could do this and you could do that. That's what they told me.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there's nothing we can do about building codes. Whether he is or isn't compliant now is not before us. We have no jurisdiction over that. And what's before you is a variance, which I'm telling you we cannot give them. If they think they have a solid argument that they should still be considered a non-conforming use, they can make that written request to the staff with the supporting documentation, and the staff can make that decision. If they disagree with the staff's decision, then they can come back before you to argue their non-conforming status. But that's not before us today. That would be an administrative appeal from a decision of the planning director. So I don't mean to cut them off. It's just that there's nothing we can do for them today, and what he said, she said is not relevant today.
Mr. Hill, I say going forward, make sure you got documentation from people that you talk with about your issue so that you can use that as supporting evidence.
Well, they got all that on the computer, right upstairs. I mean, he pulled it up on the computer and showed it to me.
I'm just saying to you now.
And we
done suggested some ways you can work this out to get where you're trying to.
Yeah. Well, I got my like architect who was trying to get this thing taken care of. He the one that set the meeting up for me to go up and talk to the guy upstairs. And he was in there when we had this discussion on what I needed to do because I was trying to get a building. I had never got a building.
Mr. Chairman, that has nothing whatsoever to do. Again, I'm sorry, and I don't. We're just wasting time, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, sir. What a building inspector said is not relevant at all. We're just wasting time.
So we was approved for zoning. I mean, the variance was approved just last year.
Okay.
We was approved, and now because we didn't, and we could have got an extension if we would have just filled out that piece of paper.
Mr. Chairman?
I understand, Mr. Hill. I understand. Just one moment.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yeah, just point of
Metcalf.
order. We've been advised by our counsel as to the legality of this, and I think we all understand the plight here. But I want them to understand what Margaret said and what Doug said, that they need to get their documentation together, come not to this board, but go to the staff, okay, up on the 3rd floor, and apply for a non-conforming use compliance, Basically, you're going to bring the information to say, this is why we should be not a non-conforming use. And then the staff will either agree with you or not. If they don't agree with you, you can come back here and it's called an administrative appeal. You can say, we don't agree with what they said, but you can come here for action on that. But we can't do anything today except apologize and wish you well.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
You say get the documentation and everything, but we got all the documentation they
Well,
asked
you're just
for.
going to have to do it again.
I mean, we just did it.
But
What we're saying,
We
what we're
just
saying,
submitted
Mr.
it.
Hill.
Oh,
What
time
we're
out,
saying,
time out.
Mr. Hill.
Time out. What the procedure is, you need to request confirmation that you still remain a non-conforming use. That is not before this board. It hasn't, that question has not been posed to the city in any means or in any fashion, and it needs to be determined officially if you think you are. The city doesn't think so, but you can make that official request, and then we can go from there.
Can I ask one quick question, and I'm gonna leave it alone because I see, but if you approving daycares that's got the same operations that we got, you letting them go from 6 to 10. You already done set the standard right there. You already said it's okay to go from 6 to 10.
Well,
With
Mr. Hill,
no change.
Mr. Hill, let me say something real quick to clarify that. I think two things. One is every case is different. Okay, so just because each circumstances may be different, but secondly, today is the first time we've had our attorney come out and say that legally we cannot approve this. But I think they've tried to explain ways in which y'all can move forward to hopefully get it done. And I think, we all are sympathetic in the sense that it's a need in the community, a big one, and we get these all the time. And I think that's what the amount that we have started getting has increased tremendously in the last several months. And I think that's what's forced the staff and everybody to look at it and say, what's going on here? Is this something that we have the ability to approve? And I think what you've heard today is we don't. And so as sympathetic as we can be with you, we still don't have the authority to approve it.
Okay, I understand. But one quick
Wait,
question.
hold on. We're going to cut off debate now. We're going to cut off debate. I think we've heard enough objectivity.
Okay, no objection.
No, we're going to cut it off debate right now. Anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this application? You with this application up there, sir? No, okay. So that means there's nobody here for it one way or the other. The chair's going to declare that we cut off debate and that the recommendations that have been advised to you as it relates to your position that you feel strongly about, that you would appeal it through the administrative process.
But that's what we did. And I spent I don't know how much money.
Yes, sir. I
Because
understand.
the city told me to do this. They told me this is what I had to do. So
Just
I
take
did
all that.
everything the city asked me to do. And now they tell me to go back and spend more money and do what the city want me to do again. So
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
We're cutting off debate. Just go ahead and
what they
appeal
say
it to
do.
them.
I don't
Cut
know
it-
who to
cut
go
it.
to. Who I
To take
go
it back
to
to the appeal. Okay, good. Thank you all very much, very much. All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hill and Mrs. Hill. Okay, board, where are we now? What's the position of the board? Yes, sir. Right. That's what I'm looking for. Move properly seconded. You've heard it as stated. Are we ready? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposes none, hearing none, the application has been denied. Anything else, Mr. Counsel? Anything else? God bless you all. I appreciate your patience. We wanted to make sure they have a clear understanding. And then that this is new territory we're charting upon, we want to make sure the board is in harmony as well. So So thank you all very, very much, and we do appreciate your patience. Motion to, you get, we through. We adjourn. Thank you. God bless you.
I agree with you a lot more.